How's it going, Armando?
Good,
Yeah,
good.
Justin Gurney, how are you? I'm picking up a car in a container. It's a Chevy Impala. All right, let's do it. Let's open this thing. Wow, that's so cool. Oh my gosh.
Congratulations, man.
That's awesome.
So what does it feel like to be sitting in a car that your dad raced?
I know, it's a strange feeling. We fired it up.
So this is a fantasy of a lifetime. Man, that sucker's loud.
Yeah.
This was the race the spectators really wanted to see.
The English were rooting for him.
Isn't that something? Everybody loved the guy. Never saw it except pictures of it, right?
Only pictures until today.
This is going to be an adventure I think you're going to enjoy.
How's it going, Armando?
Good,
Yeah,
good.
Justin Gurney, how are you?
Good.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
I'm picking up it's a car in a container. It's a Chevy Impala. We're in the right place.
Is this like Christmas morning for you?
Kind of, right?
Wow. Oh, cars on racks. I like that. This is it?
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, man.
All right, let's do it. Let's open this thing. That's pretty cool. Wow. I think it's still got the English plates on. The real plates are in there. It still
California
has the
plates?
Yeah, and it still has the Don Steve Chevrolet
License plate
license plate frames.
Oh,
Yep, they should all be in the trunk. And then that's the original motor right there. Wow.
This is the famous 409, an engine only made available for a couple of years from Chevrolet. You know, it was famous enough that the Beach Boys wrote a song about it. She's real fond of my 409. This engine came in that car when it was brand new. And I'll explain all this in a little while.
This is so cool.
At least the blinker works.
We're good on my side.
Man.
Wow, that's so cool.
Wow.
How's it looking there? All
Looks
right.
like it should, I guess. Congratulations, man.
That's awesome.
You got to sit in it, man.
That is so awesome.
So what does it feel like to be sitting in a car that your dad raced?
I know, it's a
64 years ago?
4 years ago. It's a strange feeling.
Everyone has a hero. Mine is a gentleman named Dan Gurney. Dan Gurney was a guy that grew up not far from me on Long Island. He went on to California and became a very famous race driver, winning in Formula One in a car that he built himself. He gave Porsche its first Formula One win, 3 Indy 500 wins as a team owner, a Trans Am team owner. He won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, co-driving with A.J. Foyt. And in sports car racing, as an IMSA team owner, his cars won the 12 Hours of Sebring and the Daytona 24-hour race. I became friends with Dan and ultimately his family. And his son Justin called me recently and said, "Tom, get on a plane and come out here because I just bought my father's 1961 Chevy Impala that he ran in the British Touring Car Championship before I was born." If you've been watching Barn Find Hunter for any amount of time, you know that I love a story as much as the car. Here's a car and a story Justin Gurney has been chasing for roughly his whole life. He's only heard about it. His father told him stories about it. This story is one for the ages. You'll join me as a passenger in one of the loudest race cars I've ever sat in as Dan Gurney's son Justin takes us through the gears.
He had his hands on that steering wheel and driving that shifter.
That's crazy. That is just crazy. We fired it up. Turning a little slowly right now.
We're trying to get a jump box because the battery in the car had barely enough juice to have the lights go on. But as soon as you turn the ignition switch, everything died. So we're going to try to get a jump box and maybe a little bit of ether so we can start the car and drive it around the building because it's kind of tight back here, and put it on another truck and bring it to a storage facility where it'll stay for a little while. All right, you want me to run out and get a battery? Or do you want to get on the way to his shop?
Whatever you guys want to do. Pretty easily.
All right, why don't we go get a battery?
Anything?
Yeah, you want to go? Let's go.
Sure. Come on, baby. That sounds good.
That's Cam.
Sounds good. You want to go drive it?
Man, that's loud.
A little jiggly. How did he race this thing?
Right, look at how big that wheel is.
It's huge.
His knees, man.
Want to drive it right now?
Yeah. This is a fantasy of a lifetime. Can I drive an Eagle next?
There we go. Nice.
Man, that sucker's loud.
Yeah. Brakes aren't even that bad.
No, they're not.
He had that.
Yeah, he had that.
What did he say?
Wow.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
That was awesome.
Man.
Can you guys hear it from? Imagine when he rolled into the track that day.
Oh,
People were
man.
like, "What the hell is that?"
This little treasure box here came with the car, and you don't know what's inside there, and I don't know what's inside there, but it's like a treasure box of maybe history on that car, and more important, your dad. So Justin has offered to take us through this box paper by paper.
So yeah, this was sitting in the back seat.
So here's a letter from Dad himself.
Lori O'Neill.
That's the guy he sold the car to. How cool is that?
All right, so check this out. This might be the entry list for that Silverstone race. DNF, number 37, Chevy Impala, Dan Gurney. So there's the cars that are competing at Jag.
Wow, look at these drivers.
Yeah, Graham Hill, Michael Parks, Bruce McLaren, one Chevy Impala sitting out there. Distance, time, 10. Maybe you went 10 laps.
Yeah, he did. Remember, it broke 2 laps from the end. It was
12 laps. 2 laps from the end, so 10 laps.
Lost wheel.
Lost wheel.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Never seen that before.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there's a great picture of it.
Wow.
That's cool.
He would have won the championship that year, like
Right?
hands down.
Right?
Stoveboat Saloon. There's another story about it. This is in Hot Rod magazine. Wow.
Now, I hope in here somewhere, because they always said he wrote this letter to Autosport after they wouldn't let him run the next race, right? So it'll say.
This is Impala. This was the race the spectators really wanted to see. The promised battle between the Jaguars and Dan Gurney Chevy Impala. There's no doubt as to whom they wanted to win. For years and years, Jaguars had won this race at Silverstone. How could they lose when there was no other car in their class? Well, now there was another car, a huge Impala with nearly 7 liters and about 360 horsepower to push it along, and Dan Gurney to drive it, a truly impressive combination. There was always 2 battles going on in the production car races.
one between the Jaguars and the other between the BMC babies. It was Gurney then who took the pole position on the grid, and the Jaguars, in front of the Jaguars of Hill, Salvadori, and Parks beside him. On the second row were McLaren, Taylor, and Bailey. The flag fell and the Jaguars surged ahead of the Impala. Then suddenly, Chevrolet's power came in and the huge blue car rocketed down the pit straight past the helpless Jaguars as the enormous crowd roared with approval.
The English were rooting for him.
Isn't that something? Everybody loved the guy.
I hope we find that letter that he wrote, because, yeah, there it is, right there. So that's him, Dad, writing to Autosport. Yeah, it's good.
I'd like to set the record straight in regard to my 409 Chevy Impala, which was not allowed to compete in the production saloon car race at Silverstone on the 8th of July. I must admit to being surprised, disappointed, and disillusioned by the action which prevented the car from running. The entire project of entering and racing the Impala was financed by me personally, and I have made every effort to ensure that the car complied with various rules and regulations governing the entry of machines in British saloon car races. I possess all the necessary manufacturer's specifications, in addition to the required homologation papers from the FIA committee in the United States of America. This particular car was passed by the scrutineers and accepted in the saloon car race at Silverstone last May. However, we were definitely caught flat-footed 2 days before the July race when we were informed that the car was not homologated according to CSI of FIA Paris. It was alleged that the FIA people in New York had not sent the proper papers to Paris. As a result, we immediately telephoned New York, and it was confirmed that the papers had actually been sent to Paris. I therefore telephoned Paris, suggesting that someone should look through the mail. Eventually, it was admitted that the proper papers actually were in their possession, and the officials claimed that it was now too late to do anything about the matter. We pleaded that all was necessary was a telegram to John Gibson of the British Road Racing Drivers Club, advising him it was okay to allow the car to compete at Silverstone. The answer was to the effect that they would try their best, but pointed out that it was already 4:30 p.m. and getting near closing time of their office. However, 1 hour later, Mr. Gibson received a telegram which stated Chevrolet not homologated. We were therefore unable to race the car. I do feel it was most unfortunate that I was not notified by the RAC, Royal Auto Club, as soon as they knew of the problem. They were fully aware of the facts at least 10 days before the race, and they failed to notify me. When they eventually did so, they advised me to forget about entering the car because it was too late. I will, in time, get over the fact that I spent a lot of time and money in bringing the Impala to Great Britain, but I will not readily forget the suspicion that there may have been some behind-the-scenes sabotage to prevent the Chevrolet from running at Silverstone. I'm sorry that the racing fans were so disappointed about the non-appearance of the Chevy in the saloon car race, but I can only say that we tried our best. I say again that our car is very standard and that it does comply with the rules and regulations. Dan Gurney.
Jeez, that's really cool.
Man. Yeah, I kind of feel like you've invited me to some kind of special family event. Thank you.
Neat, yeah.
Okay, this car has been part of your life since you were born.
Since I was born, yeah.
You never saw it until,
Nope.
You never saw it except pictures of it, right?
Only pictures until today.
Man.
But in '61, apparently it was built in Van Nuys, which is very close to here.
And he races it in?
At Silverstone in England.
What?
Yeah.
So did he ever race it here in the States?
He never raced it in the States, but before they took it across, he went to Riverside and tested it. And apparently, from what I've been told, he beat the lap record that was apparently set by a Corvette at the time. And he beat the lap record
61.
In 61.
Is this the first car your dad raced that he owned? Because he was driving other people's
No, he raced a Triumph at first, and then he raced a Porsche, his own Porsche.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
The AAR didn't even exist yet, right? This is
So
61.
AAR is All American Racers, and it's the business that I guess was started by Carroll Shelby and your dad,
Shelby and Dad together, yeah.
and then he split. Shelby split.
Yeah.
Okay.
1970, we bought him out of his half, yeah.
Okay, and so that was the race team that you still own today, or
Yep. Craziest thing, a guy that he knew named Bill Fowler, who actually worked on the motor and was AAR employee number 1, drove this car from here,
California.
from California, all the way across to New York on his honeymoon. I don't know.
Is that like a break-in period?
I
for the
guess.
car? Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. But he drove on his honeymoon to New York, I guess. They put it on a ship, and then it went to, I think, Southampton. And then Dad flew over and met the car there and drove it to the track.
So his intention was to buy this and race it in England. Why?
He was racing in Formula One at the time. He was racing for Porsche at the time. And I think that before the Formula One race, there were some other races that happened before, like a support races, if you
Yeah.
will. Friends or other F1 drivers were entering these support races, and one of them was a saloon car race. And there was they were all driving 3.8 liter Jags. And then of course Dad's like, I don't want to drive a Jag, but I want to do that. So he goes, I think I could win with a Impala.
How did he do in that race?
In qualifying, he got the pole. I think he was like 2 seconds. He led the entire race, and 2 laps before the finish, the left rear wheel broke. There's a great picture of him standing about right here, and he's looking over at the broken left rear wheel. Broke, yeah.
Metal fatigue or something?
And I don't know. I thought he told me that you know, the studs rip right through the wheel.
Yep.
I think so, because when you see it's sitting like this, the wheel in the picture.
Oh, okay.
Broken, the car's kind of leaning over. But so those wheels, Dad said at the time, he said, well, I don't know what wheels to run in this race. So he went to his friend, Zora Duntov, and said, what wheels should I put on this thing to race it? And Zora told him the wheel, so he bought those, and that's the wheel that broke. After that, for all the rest of the time, Dad always referred to Zora Duntov as Zora Arkus Doomkopf.
Doomkopf. Ach du lieber. Wow.
Oh.
How did he do in the next race?
So then in the next race, lo and behold, it was also at Silverstone, and the paperwork was missing. Yeah, and it ended up that at least he thinks so, that the Jaguar guys got together and said, we don't want this monster with a bent seat and a radio beating us. So they pretty much banned it. And he tried everything before the race, called Paris to the headquarters, FIA, and tried to get all, and they said no. Yeah,
well, yeah.
So he was so frustrated at the time, at that event, he sold the car to a friend of his there, and never gone.
Let's talk about this car. So it's a 1961 bubble top, which is funny because you think a road race car do better with a
Right.
pillar here because
Yeah.
it's structurally more rigid, but
Yeah.
maybe you couldn't get a bubble top or a 409. So 61, 409 engine, 4-speed transmission, radio.
That's it. Bent seat, radio, no air conditioning.
So we just went for a little ride, and I was sitting on this side of the car, and the exhaust pipes are right there. This baby is loud. So you bought this car from a guy in Scotland?
Yeah, a guy named Ed Foster had it in Scotland. Yeah.
So the engine in this thing is not the original engine that came with this car, is that right?
That's correct. So when Ed found this car, it had a 6-cylinder in it, and apparently the guy that Dad sold the car to took the motor out and put it in a boat, of all things, and then put a 6-cylinder in it and used it as a tow car to tow some other race car in Australia. And it was converted to right-hand drive.
So the steering box and the steering wheel and everything was moved to this side of the car?
That side, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. So when he got it, he converted it back. Unfortunately, it didn't have the original 409 in it, but he found another one and put it in there. Meanwhile, he did find the original motor in a boat and made a deal with a guy and got the motor out of the boat, and it came with the car. So I don't think I'll maybe get the real motor rebuilt, but I think leave that in there, and then you could drive it around, put miles on it, and not hurt the original.
And then it's got manual steering, and that steering is like forever. Let's see how many locks.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
All right, so we're gonna do this scientifically here.
Yeah. Count it.
Okay, so we're all the way to the left. Right there, say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
6 1/4. Whoa. He was a busy man behind
Yes.
that wheel.
Man.
Holy mackerel.
Well, he probably steered it with the rear end.
Didn't you say something about that he was going through the S's in a special way?
I mean, people always said that he looked like he was going straight through the S's at Riverside, you know. He just knew how to get through there
car was just
extremely
tip,
well.
Tip, tip, tip.
Yeah.
Yep, wow. Modifications, remember we looked at these brake.
Yeah, apparently
hose.
the only thing they did to it, he said he was allowed to put a sway bar on it, which he put a sway bar off a Corvette. And yeah, and then those little brake ducts to cool the brakes, and that was it. Otherwise, it was bone stock.
Let's open that trunk.
Yeah.
See the stash
the
of stuff
keys
you got
in.
inside there.
Yeah, so I think that's the original tack right there.
Sun Electric Corporation, Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, you can get those rebuilt, that's no problem.
Yeah. And I believe that's the original transmission right there.
Oh, look at that. So I think of your dad as a hot rodder. You know, like I grew up on Long Island.
Absolutely.
He grew up on Long Island, and he used to go to Freeport Raceway, and he
Yep.
was a big Ted Tappet fan and all that
Yes,
stuff.
exactly.
But then he came out here, and he became a hot rodder and went to the dry lakes and all that stuff.
Yep.
This kind of is a perfect meld between a road racer and a hot rodder.
Oh, yeah.
This car combines both those.
Yeah, it's absolutely him. And
Really?
if you ever knew him, he would probably say that's not loud enough, that exhaust. That's how he loved it, loud as it could be. So he got a kick out of that for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah.
The Gurney name in American racing is historic, and everybody has a good feeling about it. And even if you remember, we looked at some of those British magazines, that the English fans were rooting for this car, an American car with an American driver, to beat the Jags with English drivers. That doesn't happen, you know? It doesn't happen. But Dan Gurney had such a fan following around the world. Blonde hair, big smile on his face. Everybody loved the guy. Can't thank you enough for
Thank you,
allowing
Tom,
us.
really.
I mean, like this is your family. It's like I'm invited to your Christmas dinner or something. It's like I really appreciate it that you shared with us documents and stories. Is there anything you want to wrap up about touching the car that your father drove 63 years ago?
63 years ago. I mean, obviously it's a special thing, and I can't believe I'm standing next to it finally and get to drive it actually. And Dad would be really stoked to hear it, and for you to be here today and have interest in it, and it really means a lot.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you probably won't stumble across a story like this very often, but keep looking. There are cool cars and cool stories around there, and sometimes they just happen to be connected to the Gurney name. Happy hunting.